Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the weekly Subspace Developer Sync, or the first edition of this week. Today, we're going to go around and get an update from everybody on what they're working on. Nazar, could you go first, please?
Of course. So I've been working on some more fixes to the node. There were two more issues that were resolved, and so far I think those are the only errors we had that like causing some crashes or other problems on the testnet. So that's good. Also, I was working on the batch plotting for the farmer. I reintroduced that feature in somewhat limited capacity. So we support batch plotting on the codec level for CUDA and for CPU. On the farmer side, we only support that for CPU, but only because we are batch encoding pieces that are coming from the same segment. It doesn't try to take like several segments together and encode those. So that will be like the future step once we have once we use CUDA. Right now we only run containers without any CUDA, so it's kind of irrelevant for now, but it will be relevant in the future. But the groundwork is already there. I also was investigating why we had the problem where we had some transactions evicted from the transaction pool, even though they were high priority. Turns out in Substrate, it was like a very simple check. The older transactions were evicted, and you were staying. That was like a very simple rule. So I extended that rule to take into account the priority and submitted pull request to Substrate upstream. We'll see what they say. That will resolve similar issues in the future. Let's say if you have equivocation and some other transactions concurrently in the transaction pool, equivocation should take precedence and should stay there regardless of other transactions. And I was also working on the networking side. Have some prototypes, but as we discussed before, we need to work more on the architecture of what networking should look like in general. So it's a little bit postponed, I would say. Yeah, I think those are the main updates.
Great, thanks, Nazar. What's the, you said there were two issues with the node that you've resolved?
Yeah, one was the Stack Overflow. Basically, there was a check, or like there is a check in Babe that basically goes through the blocks which are finalized and basically prunes some of the state related to epochs of those finalized blocks. And since we didn't have any finalization in our node, it was basically going recursively through all of the epochs, and at some point it was basically exceeding the stack because it was recursive algorithm. Even if it wasn't, it would be just slower and slower and slower over time. So either way, we had to resolve it. So current workaround is just to take BK from this spec and treat that essentially as finalization, so we can like prune some of that state and avoid the problem. And the other one was a little bit less urgent. We had block production stall when we had recommitment on the farmer side, and that was caused by the fact that we had support both for recommitment the whole plot and incremental recommitment for pieces that are plotted while this like for real-time plotting basically. And it was like separately it was fine. The problem was when both were happening together. So we were recommitting in the background for all of the pieces that were already plotted. We've just plotted some more pieces, and in that code that was handling some more pieces, it was basically taking two logs. The first one was like global log, and the second one was local. Local was busy because we were recommitting the whole plot concurrently, but we didn't release the global log, so like everything was logged essentially while the recommitment was happening. So that was fixed. We didn't have to have that log, so it should be fine. It shouldn't block anything.
Okay, and for the sort of naive finalization that you put in there, is that within sort of the substrate or Babe notion of finalization? Or is it just like, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, does that mean that we could reuse that concept of big K as finality in other places in Substrate that expect finality? Is it like portable in that sense, or was it really just kind of like hacked into this one specific use case?
It was more or less hacked, but due to the fact that we take big K in order to archive pieces, and we don't really support reverting that process if it actually starts archiving something. We essentially have that as finality right now, even though we kind of don't have finality. I guess we can try to write like a widget, just take the grandpa code as a foundation and like replace the logic for grandpa, like how it collects everything and figures out what is finalized, what's not, and just take like a K as a basis for deciding what blocks are finalized. I guess we can do that.
Yeah, just a thought, just because there's a lot of other stuff that we can't use because we don't have finality, but
yeah,
we'll see. Okay. And then for the Docker, or sorry, for the batch plotting. So if I understand correctly, so now if I run a node, a farming node in a Docker container, then while it's plotting, it will saturate however many cores I assign that container.
Yeah.
Well, great. And can I test that now? Have those images been built and pushed?
I didn't build images, but it's in the main branch. So if you build from source, you will test it.
Okay. All right. Okay. We'll talk about that later. Cool. All right. And okay, I think that's it from my end. Do you have any, does anyone else have any questions for Nazar about his updates?
I have a question. So this fix for recommitment, it's not in the image, right? You didn't push it to the
It's in the latest dev image
registry.
that I posted like on Friday, I believe. It's already there.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. Thanks.
And is that the GitHub registry or the Docker Hub registry?
It's still Docker Hub.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for Nazar? Okay. Liu-Cheng, can you give us an update on decoupled execution, please?
Okay, so a small final conclusion. The executor chain now is able to produce blocks continuously.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my one single update.
Okay.
I just fix all the bugs a few hours ago.
Wonderful. That's great. Were there any unexpected issues or surprises?
Yeah, but I have fixed them all, and now the block production seems fine. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. That's amazing. Is the code in a state that that we can review it, like, or at least the final state, not necessarily the history of the diffs?
I believe it will make more sense after I doing some cleanups. Otherwise, it will like much harder for you to review.
Well, we're not necessarily going to review the changes. We just kind of want to see the okay. The Great Firewall has blocked us again. Okay. Moving on, I guess. Serge, can you give us an update on what you've been working on?
Sure. Can you hear me well? Because it feels like my connection is.
Your audio is fine. Your video goes blurry sometimes, on my end at least.
Okay, let me try without video, just in case. Or should we finish with Liu-Cheng?
Yeah, sure. Liu-Cheng, sorry.
Sorry, guys, I'm back. I'm back now. So yeah, I can post the branches on the Discord. Yeah, immediately.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
So you can check that, and
Great.
we'll talk about on another call.
Yeah, we can discuss it a little bit. I think probably on the protocol sync tonight, depending on how much time we have.
Okay.
Wonderful. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Serge. Or sorry, does anybody have any questions for Liu-Cheng? Okay. Thank you, Liu-Cheng. All right, Serge, go ahead.
Okay, so I've been working on Polkadot Archive, and I created a DigitalOcean droplet for that, set up Polkadot node, copied my archive local one to the volume, and once the node has synced, I have started downloading the history to the archive on top of what I already had there. Currently, we have around 4 million blocks out of 8 million. And I also tried to start a state mint node, but I couldn't find a Docker image. And the Docker image for state mine didn't work for me. So probably I will build and create the image by myself later.
Let's not do that.
Relay.
They have it. We can. Let me just ask Joe. Maybe it's just hidden somewhere. I'm almost certain that they have it.
It's still shown as shell on the Polkadot.js apps, so probably it's just not live properly yet.
Yeah. Let me double check with Joe on that. Or I can put you in touch with his team actually, Serge, because we were gonna get paired up with their core engineer.
Yeah, that would be great.
Awesome.
I just saw that on GitHub someone already asked about Docker image, and they said like you have to build it yourself. So
oh, I see.
Yeah, if they can help, that would be great. And on Relayer, I don't think there were any updates. I still have those 2 PRs submitted, and yeah, both are in review. Another thing I was working on is investigating the issue on a test A, and it seemed like same issue as was earlier reported on a dev environment. And the assumption was that it was related to this recommitment problem. The block production stopped during the recommitment, and I reset dev environment with new images, and issue is still there. So I will investigate more after the call. And I also added bit country to the config. And there were actually a few more chains that are already like in the relay block as included. Genshiro, Unique, and Picasso, but those don't have on finality endpoints, so I couldn't add them at the moment. That's it.
Okay, can you just remind me what the 2 pending PRs are that are in review, please?
One on refactoring of Relayer and another one with tests. So previously it was one big PR, and I created 2 separate PRs.
Okay, but those don't introduce new functionality, so we don't have WebSockets yet. So we're still dependent on functionality.
Correct.
Okay. Can you message the engineer on, I think his name's Frank, on the Telegram channel and ask him if they have any kind of an ETA on those 3 chains, if they're going to be supporting those?
I spoke to him earlier about Picasso, and he said they are not yet ready to be on finality. I will just follow up, maybe that will change, but yeah, I think we should think about alternatives.
Okay. Yeah, let's just double check with him to see if it's going to be like any day now or if it's like undetermined.
Sure.
But yeah, we definitely we need to get that WebSockets working so that we can have connect directly into these networks themselves as a fallback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Regarding the test A bug, which we're also seeing in dev now, I guess. So that's unrelated to the recommitments. Is that what we're thinking right now? Or is the
It seems like it's not.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go. Yeah, like we the initial assumption was that it was related, but I updated everything, and I don't know, maybe I messed up. I will double check, of course, but it seems like the issue is still there. The WebSocket connection is dropped by the node.
Okay, I think it's good that it actually is reproducible. That means we can try things and see if it helps. So yeah.
And when you say the WebSocket connection is dropped, it's dropped by the substrate node or by the relayer node?
By substrate node.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, sounds good. Any questions for Serge from the group? Okay, Leo, you're up next.
Sorry, I was closing the window. I was working in the Subspace.js, and recently I have updated the branches with some documentation in the files itself, in the TypeScript files itself. Like the code is documented on what params it receives, what it does, and what these methods returns. And I also added README files, like explaining what the library does. And I think that it's pretty, it's understandable, I think. I will create this pull request right now after this meeting to have this in the main branch. And also I updated the examples folders with the examples for the Node backend and a really simple app in the front end. It's just one file, a React JavaScript with no CSS or anything. And what it does is you can just select an image and you put the image, you get the object ID, it shows the object ID, and then you can query that object ID and it will show the image in the front end with obviously the same image. And yeah, I think that I was working in that. In the weekend, I just worked a couple of hours in the documentation. But I think that it's pretty understandable now.
Okay. Yeah, definitely love to take a look at that as soon as you get that pushed or submitted. That's great. What are
I
what are
was
your next
really
steps going
using
to be?
this to Grammarly to basically have an understandable thing. And not, I don't know. I wanted to talk that because after closing this, I think that I was going to go back to the Polkadot apps explorer.
Yeah, I believe that's what we discussed on Thursday
Yep.
of last week. That would be the next step. Those issues with the chain parameters that were not rendering properly.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Anything else, Leo?
No. I don't know if in the weekend or recently we have some updates in architecture from your side, guys.
Infrastructure?
I don't think so.
No.
You mean infrastructure, Leo, or architecture?
Yeah, infrastructure. Sorry, infrastructure.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Anyone have any questions for Leo? All right. Thank you, Leo. Okay, Ozgun, you're next.
Okay. So I was working with plotting tests. I had some bugs to solve. Unfortunately, they were solved, and I had one more big bug to resolve, and Nazar helped with that. So the happy path test is good to go. It's finished. One more test for plotting, then stopping, then again continuing the plotting. I have another bug there. I'm trying to solve it. After that is solved, I believe it will be completely finished, and I will submit a PR for plotting tests. Other than that, I was trying to review the new PRs, mostly from Nazar, especially batch encoding. And beyond that, I was trying to learn the best practices and improve my overall skills in Rust. That's what I've been doing.
Okay, thanks. Does anybody have any questions for Ozgun? Okay, thanks, Ozgun. And we will find a time for us to talk after this, towards the end here. All right. So on my side, I have been working mainly on the design and architecture side with Liu-Cheng and Nazar on the decoupled execution, trying to build a better plan for that going forward. And then also working with Nazar on peer-to-peer network design and trying to get a more clear architecture and specification going there as well. Otherwise, I've been pretty more busy with the business side of things lately, and especially the fundraising round that we're doing right now. We are going to be doing announcements this week, starting with Parity in a few days, and then with some parachains to follow regarding the relayer. No specific dates on that yet, but just be on the lookout for that soon. We'll update as it comes out, so just expect that we could have somewhat higher traffic on some of our infrastructure. We'll see. Yeah, and we're also having partner calls, potential partner calls with some other layer ones this week, which would be really interesting to see where that goes. Some pretty big name layer ones for the archiving or relaying. So yeah, that's about it from my side regarding engineering. Does anybody have any questions for me? All right, great. Well, thanks everybody for watching. We will see. We will see you guys again in 2 days.